Hey guys, it's Psychosis here today, bringing you another album review because I wanted to. And today we'll be reviewing Fuming Mouth's album Last Day of Sun. And this album came out just this year, and before I listened to this album, I had never heard of this band or this album before. I saw someone mention on the internet, so I listened to it, and I listened to it a few more times and just decided, I'm gonna review it. And so yeah, today I'll be reviewing Fuming Mouth's album The Last Day of Sun. And this is the band's second album, and I guess they're kind of a newer band, but I saw no one, like I said, I see no one talk about this, and so I decided to just talk about it because I listened to it a few times, decided I've heard it enough, and so yeah, time to review it. And starting off with the album art's kind of like silly but kind of cool. It's all this destruction, dark coloring. There's like a giant demon bat thing destroying everything and building and stuff. Just typical generic destruction album art, just kind of edgy, kind of cool. And yeah, so yeah, that's the album art. And on to the music. Well, the music's kind of fun because it falls under this label called Entombed Core, and if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like this label people throw on any band that tries to replicate the sound that the band Entombed did on their album Wolverine Blues. It's kind of like this death and roll album. It has this like crunchy Swedish death metal chainsaw tone, but it's just like really crunchy on that album for some reason, and people just really like that. And so any band that uses that these days, they just throw that label on. But generally, you see people use it for death metal, but this album's fun because it's more on the hardcore metalcore side of things. So yeah, like the riffs are like chunky riffs, but there's not really like fast paced music or anything. And vocally, there's a lot of like shouting and screaming, growling. I think on the first song, I think the first song on the album is called Out of Time, I think, or the second song, and the vocals is like, that's probably not accurate to how he sounds like, but it's kind of cool. I really like the growling vocals on the album. They're really sick in my opinion. Like vocally, it's really nice. It it it's my sweet spot of taste for vocals. I really like the vocals on this album. And yeah, with the lyrics, yeah, the lyrics are kind of rudimentary on that thing, but they're just meant to be pissed off. This album's really pissed off, or just has that theme to it because it's about the album is lyrical theme. It's about the world last day, hence the name Last Day of Sun. It's about the world theoretically ending, and the lyrics are all themed around the last day without the light and the world going into chaos. So it's kind of an interesting album in that regard, but the lyrics are kind of simple, and it's also kind of like an allegory, kind of, because from what I've read, I guess the vocalist of this band, was battling leukemia before making this album, and he survived it. So I guess this album's kind of like him releasing all that frustration, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of cool. One of the songs has lyrics kind of themed around overcoming his sickness. I forgot what it's called, but it's more towards the end of the album. Now I think that's like the most pissed off song on the album. Yeah, lyrically it's kind of basic, but it's not supposed to be complex. And vocals are awesome, and the riffs are sweet, like more slower hardcore riffs. They just get you bobbing your head and moshing around in your room or at the table or wherever you're at. Really fun. More on like simple, but it gets the job done. Like, they weren't caring about that. There is some sort of like shreddy stuff. It's kind of goofy. They throw it in a few times to make the album more interesting, and I do like that. because as fun as the riffs are, it's like it's getting a little old, and then the band will throw something in like a little twist, and I like that. And it's just like sounds kind of like gibberish initially you hear it, but then it's like, oh, that actually was really good. It fit everything. And yeah, and also on this album there is some clean singing too, and that surprised me because I was not expecting that. But I like clean singing and whatnot. So when I heard that there was, I was like, ooh. But it's only on 3 songs. More towards 2 of the songs are like the end of the album, and one is like on the third song has a lot of those clean choruses, like mostly that. I really like that song. It might be my favorite song on the album or top 3. It's a softer song, kind of like a mainstream song they intended to be like a single. And I really like that one. It's probably the one most people gravitate towards, like a lot of singing and stuff. It's not really as heavy as the other ones. I really like that one. And like I said, I like clean choruses. I thought it was fun. And yeah, that's kind of like the gist of the album. It's like a fun album about theoretical end of the world, basically. Really fun. And yeah, but one biggest flaw with this album, though, and I don't know what it is, but it just has to do with the production on this album, though. It's not like a modern production, which is nice because I could make a whole entire video ranting about production and being a nerd about that and why modern production bothers me, but it's it's good, like it's good production, but it's not like squeaky clean, it's not raw, it's like in a good middle ground, but yet there's just something off about it. It's I don't know if it's production or mixing, but there's just something off about it. It just, despite how crunchy this album can be at times, it just feels, make the production or mixing, it makes this album feel a little flat at times. And so when you hit a kind of plateau boring spot or a slower, less exciting part of the album, I started to get kind of bored, especially more towards the end. And like I said, they do throw twists, but it's one of those things where it's like it's actually the actual sound on the album just seemed flat and weaker. Like they could have made it stronger. Maybe I wasn't listening to the album loud enough at the time. I don't know. Before I last time before reviewing this album, I really don't know, but it just was a little disappointing because everything else was really good, and then that was like, oh, that just docked my interest in the album by a ton, unfortunately. And yeah, it really sucks because I never hear people talk about this band, and from what I've seen, they're not really as big as other bands out there, especially from this year. And this year has been really good for metal music and music in general, in my opinion, for what I've heard so far. So, kind of disappointing. Yeah, like I said, there is boring parts that get kind of old. Like sometimes the sound gets monotonous. The band does add twists, but even then, with the production, and yeah, like I said, the lyrics too are just silly, like simple, edgy lyrics about the world ending and people panicking and fighting each other and scrambling to survive. And yeah, as the world falls into darkness, kind of fun, but I don't know. And yeah, I think that's like the main points of the album, but the biggest thing, oh yeah, and the biggest thing is the crunchy tone. It's like a pro slash con. It just depends on what your tastes are. So if you're not really a fan, if you decide to hear this album and you hear the crunchy tone, it's either gonna be a turn off or it's gonna be something that excites you. But if you're a bigger fan of the crunchy entombed core tone or whatever you want to call it, chainsaw tone, you're gonna be disappointed because it's kind of quieter in this album than other albums. It's not the most like buzziest album that's under this label of entombed core, but like I said, the riffs are still buzzy and they're still really cool. but I've just heard so much bands that have this kind of tone that it's just not as like groundbreaking or exciting, I guess, or stand out. It just kind of the tone seems average, and that I don't know. It just falls back into the whole mixing production thing on this album. That's this album's. I mean, album's biggest flaw is its mixing and production. That's just in my opinion, which really sucks because everything else was about this album was awesome. I love the shouting, I love the growling, the clean singing was actually really good and blew my expectations away. Like I got hooked when I first heard them, and then and sometimes I'll just listen to the songs just to hear the choruses because they were just really good and they were different than what I expected and they fit the music well. And yeah, if you like clean choruses, you'll like the songs with those. And those songs have the least amount of the crunchiness to them as well. And yeah, so the ending out the album and the beginning are really good. The middle and the three-fourths album part, yeah, the part that three-fourths of the album is just like the middle part of the album, I got kind of fatigued listening to. Less hooks and less changes to make it exciting. Yeah, that's what I can think of. The biggest flaws and biggest pros. The vocals and the riffs are awesome. It sounds just the attitude's awesome. It's just a pissed off hardcore metalcore album that has some death metal elements, I guess. So yeah, something that I really enjoy. It's just held back by, in my opinion, by the mixing and production. I keep saying my opinion, but that's the whole point of these videos. It's just my opinion, blabbering and reviewing an album. Like everyone has their own different tastes and different opinions, and yeah, that's just how it is. You either hate an album or you end up loving it, or it just falls in between. But this album's not so. It's not terrible. Most music is not terrible. That's that could be a video in itself. But yeah, this album was just really good. I really liked it, and it had a few glaring flaws that really hold it back, but I really liked it. And I'll probably fall in love with it the more I listen to it, and I listen to it a bunch because it just hits a sweet spot that a lot of stuff I listen to just doesn't. And yeah, so for my final review rating, I'll give this an 8 out of 10. Very good album. Yeah, just a very good album. Very awesome riffage. Definitely a must listen if you're a hardcore metalcore fan. Even if you're to like death metal, deathcore, all that. So basically all that I listen to and like. If you fall in that categories, you'll probably like it or find some interest in it. Mainly the metalcore hardcore fans will love it. But yeah, that's my final review rating. 8 out of 10. Really good, but held back by its mixing and production, which I thought could have brought it up to like a 9, 9.5. And yeah, just lyrics are kind of simple, but that was the point. It's just supposed to be a pissed off album. And yeah, that's my review for Fuming Mouth's Last Day of Sun. I thought it was a very good album. And if you haven't heard it yet, definitely listen to it because I never see anyone talking about this album, which is surprising because it's definitely up there on the list of what I've heard, and that's saying a lot because this year has been excellent for music. And yeah, so that'll be my review. As I always said, if there's an album you want me to review, just let me know in the comments or anything. Just comment in the comments, and yeah, if there's an album to review and you want me to request, you can request albums for me to review because I will definitely review them. I enjoy talking about music. That's the whole point of this channel, is for music. And it's mainly metal because this is what I enjoy, is metal music. Metalcore mainly. Yeah, that'll be my review of Fuming Mouth, The Last Day of Sun. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.